Can executives get the EB1A green card? What if you're a retired executive? Does that prove that you were extraordinary and that you deserve a green card? This is a story about how we helped the client win his EB1A case by proving that he used to work for L'Occitane, L'Oreal, big name companies, and his major contributions. This was an extremely difficult case. I learned so much, and I can't wait to share it with you. Let's go. Hi, my name is Joseph. I'm the managing partner here at Zahn Associates, where we solve legal problems with creative solutions. So the legal problem here is that executives don't typically apply for the EB1A green card. Why? Because there's another category for executives, for EB1C. If you work in a big company, you just have your company transfer you to the US and manage a department here, and you get your green card. EB1C, easy peasy for big companies. Now, if you're a small company, then that's difficult. We'll do a whole separate series on this, I promise. But the reason why he didn't do EB1C is because he left these big companies years ago already. He started a small little company, but that doesn't qualify for EB1C. He's an executive. He's not an artist. He's not a celebrity. He was part of the corporate structure of these big companies. How do you prove somebody like that is extraordinary? This case was difficult on so many fronts. The first part is, what is he going to do in the US? The second thing was, how do you prove he's extraordinary? There was a whole bunch of complications there, as you will see in this difficult request for evidence. And the third thing is, how do we prove that he sustained his extraordinary qualifications? Because he left these big companies a long time ago, and it's not like he won any major awards in the recent years. So how do you prove that he sustained this national recognition? One of his roles was to create new products that was able to penetrate markets and help the company grow. So he was very much in that creative branding space. His expertise, his passion is to really link with other creatives that were passionate about their own brands and to help them scale up. He is not a beauty expert. He is not the scientist that's creating formulas. As an executive, his talent is in storytelling, in strategy, in branding. That is very difficult to prove for a case. It would have been much better to say he was an executive for this engineering division, and under his leadership, all these crazy influential products came out and he was able to change the world. Like, if there's something substantive. But branding expert? Oh, come on. Like, that's so soft, right? And I know USCIS hates these soft, mushy titles, right? Because it's like, well, the US is huge on branding and do we need another brand executive, right? Like, they just kind of look down on business. But because that is who he is, that is his business plan, and the rest of the EB1A case had to be tailored by that vision. Problem number two, how do we prove that he's extraordinary? The criteria is the same. USCIS gives this very vague 10 criteria on proving somebody's extraordinary, and that applies across the board, doesn't matter what industry. Now we're facing this beauty industry as an executive. How do you prove somebody's extraordinary in this field? He didn't win any awards personally as an executive. There's no like executive battle and he goes in and like rap battle somebody and proves he's an executive. It's all about the company. Your loyalty is to the company. You want to make the company great, not individually great. In that era in France, all his recognition, all the things that he contributed, is not contributed to him. As an executive, you're not really part of any crazy memberships, at least in France. Publications, media publications about him individually that talked about his contributions, that was really hard to find. We leaned into high salary, leading and critical role, and original contribution. These were the three things that were his strongest, and we have other peripheral things that we try to squeeze in. Now, high salary, you just show your W-2 wage, but because he worked at these really big companies, he also got stocks. The difficult part about this case, because it was challenged in the request for evidence, this case wasn't just submitted and just immediately approved. We got a bounce back and we had to work really hard to fight it. The salary he got back then and the stocks that he got back then compared to the huge amount of salary and stocks that US executives at the beauty industry get here, it's not that extraordinary. For the salary part, we really boiled it down to compare, not with the US, sorry, even though he worked for US company, right? And even though he was sent by US company to different parts of the world, we compared his salary to all the places that he worked at. He worked in multiple places around the world, and that's another extraordinary area about him because there's very few executives that have his expertise, where he worked in so many international markets around the world and led them to be successful. And so we compared his salary compared to all those different regions. And this part was finally approved. Now, the next thing, leading and critical role. This was the proof on the first globe because, again, he worked for L'Occitane, he worked for L'Oreal, he worked for other major beauty companies. And so because we got the official records, it was pretty clear cut. Now we still had to prove though that he played a leading role in a distinguished organization. The distinguished part wasn't too hard. We proved that there was a huge company. Leading role, we proved his title, we proved his salary, we proved all these other things. So without challenge, USCIS accepted it. Now the third one, everything boiled down to this. What was the original contribution that this guy in a suit and tie sitting at the corporate office, how did he change the beauty industry? Now we have to work with a backdrop of this prejudice against business people who just shuffles paper and sends email. What exactly did he do? And note, there's very few things to prove that it was his direct contribution that led to some major change in the beauty industry. So what do? We spent 2 years on this case, and I want to say half the time was devoted to this one section. We submitted like 1,000 pages. I want to say the attorney brief, like 25 to 30 pages was dedicated to this one section. How do we prove original contribution for him? First, we wrote a biography for him. We documented his entire journey from when he graduated to where he worked and all the different projects he did, and leading up to the major contribution that we made. It was really hard to narrow it down because, of course, he did so many things. During the span of his career, think about how much the world has changed. Think about how much these companies have changed from small little companies to these huge, conglomerates. He was part of that journey. And so what was the thing that really he devoted his time to? We needed to boil it down, focus in on it, and talk about how his experience and how his learning, how it led up to that, his ladder of leadership, because he wasn't just thrown in immediately at that top level. He accomplished one thing that led to another, and this ladder of success leading up to these big transformations in the field. And we need to focus in on that. What didn't the beauty industry do in the past that after he joined changed the game forever? We proved that based on his leadership, based on the things that he oversaw, and based on the things that with his specific name on it, and getting specific letters of rec, we were able to prove that once he joined, he led the company to do this thing. And if it wasn't for his leadership and his vision, then it wouldn't have happened. And so we made this argument. We spent a long time sifting through all of these things and made the argument. Now, I can't say on this video what he did and what my arguments are because that would just completely blow his cover. Confidentiality is still very important, but this is the strategy. In the time that he was in these two big companies, what was invented, what was created, and what kind of letter recs can we get? And so mustering all of this, bringing it all together, filing the case, USCIS was challenging it hardcore in the request for evidence. We overcame it. We proved high salary, we proved leading critical role, and then we proved original contribution in this industry. And we proved that he is going to do that in the US for small to mid-sized companies and helping people find their story. It is such a pleasure and honor to work with top-notch executives. What other job would you get paid to learn from these top-notch executives? He was the chief executive for doing strategy and marketing and persuasion and presentation. And there's so many things I got to learn from him. And it was such a pleasure working with him, dedicating this entire case to him. Quite doubtful in the beginning, but we worked really hard and the case was approved. If you have any questions about this story, about your own EB1A case, feel free to reach out. Take care. Bye-bye.